Like somebody who deals with the issue of unconscious bias on a daily basis is Duro Oye, a CEO of 2020 Change. It's a youth empowerment social enterprise helping underrepresented groups into employment. Duro, thank you very much for your time.
Good morning. Good. Yeah, still morning, Eddie.
We've never spoken before. I've never met you.
No, we haven't.
Thank you so much for coming onto the show.
No worries at all.
What does unconscious bias mean to you?
So for us, the definition that we go with is that it's learned attitudes or stereotypes that exist in our subconscious, and it can involuntarily affect the way that we think and we act. So based on that definition, I believe everyone has unconscious bias.
But I don't have any bias, Eddie. I don't see colour, Eddie. What are you talking about?
Right.
Well, I get that a lot here.
Yeah, of course.
Do we all have it then, or is that just something that you're saying?
We all do. I believe we all do, and I think that people that say that they don't see colour and they don't have any unconscious bias, they're not being real with themselves. Because at the end of the day, like similar to what you were saying in the intro, you have to ask yourself these questions on your own and come to these conclusions on your own. It doesn't necessarily need to be in a group setting or in a workshop where we're dealing with like corporates or anything. That when you're going home in your own quiet time, think about the decisions that you make and why you make those decisions. Trace it back to where it came from.
I don't know. I mean, you're the expert, right? And
Far from it.
But we're reasoning, and that's what I do for a living. Before the possibility of having a debate disappears from the world that we live in as well, I'd like to carry it on with you. In fact, look, before we get into it, because I think we are going to get into it, can you give me a few minutes? It's really important to get Londoners where they need to be. That is done incredibly diligently by Lou Pepper.
10 trains.
I'm talking about it because I did it. I think I did it. I know I did it. I know why I did it. And I'd like to explore it because for me, it's something that people deny. Now, I've got a guest, Duro Oye, who's CEO of 2020 Change. It's a youth empowerment social enterprise. I'll find out a little bit more about that and what you do, but I need you for what I need you for first. Is that all right?
No worries.
So look, in its simplest form, I'm guessing most of us treat, let's say, people in a suit differently to people in a tracksuit.
100%.
Right? So in its simplest form, everybody agrees that because I used to come to work with the baby's stains on me. I used to come to work with a T-shirt. I used to come to work like I slept in I don't know where you come from. We have this thing called Saturday clothes, which is the clothes that you use to clean the house. Right, so you know what I'm talking about. Right, and that's how I used to come to work.
Yeah.
And then when I went through another couple of years, I came to work every day in a suit and tie. Every day. And now I'm kind of somewhere smart casual somewhere in the middle. And I can tell you from people moving next to me on the tube to cars stopping in the road to the way guests speak to me to the way the managers talk to me, everything changes according to what you wear.
100%. 100%. I mean, I can relate with that. But you see, with my upbringing, I was raised that I can't leave the house without looking presentable because you just don't know who you're going to come across. And my mother would never have me meet someone on the road that she knows and I look scruffy.
Are you judging me? Are you judging me, brother?
I'm not judging you. I'm just saying.
Brother man, are you judging me? That's not why I brought you on the show. Are you judging me? Don't make me code switch on you. I understand. I went to church the other day, saw what people were wearing in there.
No, I mean, church is different now. People used to wear their Sunday best. Now you'd be surprised what people wear to church. But that's another story. But back to my point, like for me, growing up, inner cities of South London and council estate, everything that comes with that, which we won't go into right now, but getting caught up, flirting with the law a little bit. And then there was a difference between myself and my peers because of the way that they looked and the way that they dressed and the way that I looked and the way that I dressed and the way that I spoke and the way that I carried myself. I never got harassed by the police in the same way that they did. We could be together, but they'll go towards them just because I listened to my mother and in terms of the way I carried myself.
Or because of the perception of the way that you presented yourself or what you wore. So Mrs. Nestor has banned me from buying any black clothing for our 12-year-old. On that very
Yeah,
basis.
it's a serious thing. It's a serious thing just because of that. And a lot of, like, we work with young people. We work with young black kids, young black men, young black females, and particularly young black men. When you engage with them, you communicate with them, you realize that they're all essentially good kids looking for an opportunity. But if you were to look at them on the streets, the way some of them dress and the way that they carry themselves and the things that they listen to and how they're bopping their heads to what they're listening to, outwardly it might look like something else.
No, hold
So
on. No, those are
this is
two
the issue.
different. They're two different things for me. You see. So what you're saying is, when in Rome, you have to behave like the Romans. So if you're going to an interview, pull up your trousers, do your tie, don't
Not
go
just an
in it,
interview.
whatever.
Not just
How
an
you
interview.
present yourself generally.
It matters, yeah.
It does matter how you speak, because my 12-year-old now is doing that, and all I want to do is. That's what I want to do, because I don't understand what he's saying, and he's sitting next to me. But tell me about unconscious bias when you have power, because if we relate it to the place of work or to child Q, what do you think when you see a black man with dreadlocks? What do you think when you see a woman, whatever color, with high heels and a mini skirt?
Yeah.
What do you think when you see two men holding hands? What do you think when you see
This all goes back to my initial definition when you talk about learned attitudes, stereotypes, people's experiences, what they've heard about particular groups of people. In the case of child Q, I'll go as far to say if that child was a different race, one, that wouldn't have happened, and two, if it dared to have happened, it wouldn't have taken 2 years for the general public to hear about it.
But I'm trying to move you away from child Q. I mean, I'm doing a lot on that, and I've got the leader of the council. What I'm trying to make us all think about, including myself, is how do we recognize it? Why do we need to recognize it? And if we do recognize it, what do we do about it?
Cool. How to recognize it is, like I mentioned before, taking that introspective look at yourself, looking at a situation, and before you act, before you respond, just think. Am I thinking about this or looking at this with a biased lens? Yeah. No one can do that work for you. Like, we deliver workshops, you can do workshops, but ultimately it's down to the individual to do the work internally. And then also for others that recognize it, it could be within the workplace. You mentioned those that are in positions of power, other people, their colleagues, to be able to call it out and feel comfortable and confident enough to be able to call it out and be like, actually, I don't think that's right. Yeah. So that's how you recognize it. How do you challenge it? I mentioned that everybody needs to stand up, and we're starting to see that now. Now we're having conversations about this, defining what it is, looking at how we can approach it.
Again, with all due respect, I don't think you can. I don't think you can stand up, or many people can stand up, when we're in a situation where you might not have a job, where everything is costing more money. There is no incentive to stand up. You get labelled as a troublemaker, as a whistleblower. We see it time and time again. Why would anybody stand up?
No, this is the thing. So it's not just down to those that are the ones that you kind of define, the ones that are down and out, the ones that are struggling. It's now down for those that are in those positions of power that can make those changes and see those changes trickle down. Hence why we target, senior corporates, executive level, so that they can change the culture within their company, so that members of their staff, members of their teams feel comfortable and confident to call out these things.
In terms of giving my listeners something that they can take away to think about, I think that personally people are much more comfortable in talking about suits, colour of eyes, hair, height, and the like, than colour. Colour seems to trigger people, but I found myself in the last 2 years, seeing as we're marking anniversaries, talking about colour more than I have in the previous 18 I've been at the station. What is it about colour that triggers people, do you think?
It's because we don't speak about it enough, and we haven't spoken about it enough. And You're talking about the past 2 years, the events that kind of triggered us feeling a lot more comfortable or confident talking about it is the murder of George Floyd, the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement. We just need to continue. We need to have those uncomfortable conversations. We need to be triggered
What's an
and step
uncomfortable
into that.
conversation? Define.
Oh,
I hear the term a lot, and I
Eddie.
promise. I know.
I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you what it is. Quite
Right,
simply, an
I'm going to
uncomfortable
stop now because I'm going to
conversation.
record this. Let me ask you the question. What I hear it a lot. What is an uncomfortable conversation?
An uncomfortable conversation is a conversation with someone, when we're talking about race, someone that's a different race to you, that has a particular thought process about your race and the way people from your race can carry themselves. But then they come across someone that doesn't fit into that bracket. And that person then challenges them on their way of thinking about that said particular race.
But some of my
So,
best friends are
for
black.
example,
Sorry.
oh, so yeah, you can have black
That
friends.
just
That
gotta.
doesn't mean that you
That's it.
understand. Every black person is not the same, similar to every white person
No,
is not the
don't
same.
say that.
It's the truth. It's the truth. Everyone's different. And it's the same thing. It comes back to when we're working with young people. Like, you can't just, there's no blanket way to deal with youth issues. Every young person is the same. Every young person has a different aspiration. They want to do different things. It's not just one size fits all. You can't pigeonhole people into a hole and say, yep, because you fall under this bracket, that's it. That's what you do.
Yeah, I think you're describing homogenous, which is a bit of a trigger word for us at the minute.
I
Listen,
like trigger. I don't run away from trigger, you know. I think we should be triggered, and I think that's part of the problem as well. Everyone's triggered. Oh, I'm triggered. I can't talk about it. Let's talk about it, Eddie. Let's dive into it. Let's do it. Because
oh
if we
dear.
don't talk about these things, nothing
You're
changes.
an agitator. You're a troublemaker. I will not have you on my
I
station,
am.
or I will not have you on my program ever again. Listen, talk to Pink Tea. Theodora's out there. It'd be lovely for you to come and do our paper review, which is our trends at 12. It'd be fascinating to find out more about what you do. Enjoy talking to you very much, and hopefully from that conversation we have food for thought. This is BBC Radio London.